Life is about the journey. This is a quote that most of us have heard over the course of our lives, but not a lot of people truly understand it, including myself. OxenFree 2 takes this bit of wisdom and creates an experience truly worth playing. Night School Studios has managed to create a game here that every single person who plays can learn from. What do I mean when I say that? Allow me to elaborate. In OxenFree 2, we play as Riley Parverly, a female protagonist or antagonist depending on the decisions of the player. Her role as a true protagonist can be argued though, because her actions and character growth completely depend on the player. All of your decisions as Riley really matter, but I'll circle back around to that later. Riley has taken a job in Camena, which is her hometown, to try and reconnect with herself. Riley is an ex-military service member, and although I wouldn't necessarily call her a veteran, because she didn't stay in the military for a substantial amount of time, the skills she learned while she was in the military proved invaluable throughout the events of the story. Riley takes what seemingly is a quick weekend job that should only consist of placing transmitters and hiking through nature, and somehow turns it into time traveling, dealing with the ghosts of dead children, dealing with their own traumas, helping characters deal with their traumas, building connections, and letting go of her past. Riley helps others let go of their past and find their true meaning in life as well. On her path, Riley meets a really important person named Jacob. Jacob serves as the catalyst for Riley's personal growth or Riley's stagnation. Again, this is completely up to the player. But before I get too deep into the video, allow me to say a couple things to give a little more insight to myself, some of my thoughts on the game, and why I think it deserves such high praise. First of all, this game has a banging soundtrack. If you listen closely to the music in the background right now, it's directly from the soundtrack of the game. Second of all, this game is absolutely beautiful and filled with amazing quip-like moments where our two main characters, Riley and Jacob, connect more intimately. These conversations feel organic and not forced into the player at all. These conversations also divulge a lot of valuable information about each character, thus forming that player-character connection that is so important for a successful narrative-driven experience. Continuing on, the collectibles in this game actually have substance to them. They aren't just fetch questy items you grab for a trophy. Granted, you do get a trophy for collecting the collectibles, but the point I'm trying to get at here is that they add narrative to the game. They're a part of a subplot for Jacob and very important to that quest line, which we will see later on. OxenFree 2 was my official reintroduction to two-dimensional side-scroller video games. I say official reintroduction because I have played side-scroller games before, obviously, but I had been purposefully avoiding them for the past 5 years or so. Why? I can't really tell you. I suppose I perceived side-scroller games as an older medium of gaming that seemed kind of childish and outdated. But after playing OxenFree 2, I'd like to officially apologize to all creators of side-scroller video games. I was not familiar with your game. Literally. Since playing OxenFree 2, I have purchased OxenFree, Stardew Valley, which I unlock with PlayStation points, and Cloudpunk. OxenFree 2 has really opened up my gaming portfolio. I'm not shitting you. That's how good it is. Also, I'm going to mention, I'm not really a fan of playing a game, watching a movie, or watching a TV show more than once, unless it's absolutely amazing. I can count with my fingers on one hand how many games I've truly enjoyed replaying for the platinum, or games I've just enjoyed replaying for the hell of it. OxenFree 2 is one of those games for me. Normally I beat a game once, and depending on how good it is, I may fight through it multiple times to get the platinum trophy, seeing as how I'm a completionist. That being said, I not only beat this game one time, I beat this game 5 entire times in order to get this platinum trophy, and I still had no issue playing this game. I didn't grow tired of it. I didn't want to fucking blow my brains out when I had to restart or if the game glitched. If you ask me, that's a sign of an amazing game. When a game has the ability to make you play through it multiple times and it doesn't lead to fatigue, that's a great formula, thus leading to a great video game. Personally, I'm not usually a fan of this blueprint. When video games make the player play through multiple times for a platinum trophy or to get a certain ending, it can seem very cheap. If executed in the wrong fashion, it can make the player lose all interest in the title. It can make the player seem as if they're wasting their time. A title having multiple endings has a huge risk/reward factor. In order to pull this off correctly, you really have to know your game. You have to know what makes sense. Your game has to flow well, and most importantly of all, you have to give your game justification as to why the player would even want to play through it multiple times. We can look at Dying Light 2 for instance. But with OxenFree 2, I had absolutely no issue diving back in a second, third, fourth, or even fifth time to see how the story and characters change based on my actions. In this game, your choices really do matter. And I mean, they really, really, really matter. So much so that if you want to attain this platinum trophy, or one trophy in particular, you have to understand human psychology and give a young woman a chance to be vulnerable with you, which, by the way, is the only time in the entire game you can give her a chance to do so. You can tell that the psychology behind human relationships is understood by the developers and is executed outstandingly in this game. OxenFree 2 is a deeper game than I originally anticipated. The themes explore loss, separation, moving on, personal growth, starting new relationships, getting closure on old relationships, finding your purpose, and really understanding that sometimes you won't understand everything, or you won't get a reason why someone left your life, and that's okay. This game does all of this within 6 hours, and even better, it uses other people to show Riley, the main character, this fact. Admittedly, it took me a few playthroughs to fully understand myself. In order to properly give this game the flowers it deserves, I did my best to put this video together in such a way in which the player can get the most out of it during one complete playthrough. What you'll be seeing may look like 1 or 2 playthroughs, but this is all of my footage throughout 5 entire playthroughs, spliced, cut, and combined in a way to tell the story of OxenFree 2 in a more efficient way, the way in which it was meant to be told. Now enough of my yapping, onto the video.
Oh, it's you again.
What do you want?
Rules.
You know.
Jonas, where did you...
Is leave possible?
The game starts out with Riley being shipwrecked, for lack of a better word. Much like us, she's dazed and confused, and she has no idea what's happening at the moment. You can attempt to speak over the walkie-talkie, but to no avail. You're met with static and a confused man on the other side of the radio. Riley makes her way up this lighthouse, which is a very important landmark that we should keep in mind for the rest of the game. Atop the lighthouse, she travels backwards to 1952 and meets this stranger, a woman who is peering through a telescope over the ocean. Upon speaking to this nameless woman, Riley is zipped back to a beach into a cult-like ceremony. Riley is then awoken at the bus stop by her, I'm assuming her boss. After speaking to this person over the walkie-talkie, we learn that this woman is Evelyn. Evelyn is our guide for this game, and instead of quest markers and objective points, OxenFree 2 has Evelyn. And not only does she guide you to where you need to go, she also is a very good person to contact periodically to learn more about an area that you're currently exploring. Not only that, Evelyn has her own subplot as well. Riley can play an instrumental part in helping her with. Evelyn informs us that we're going to be planting transmitters along the coast for a local lab that the government hires to study the effects of deforestation and noise pollution. Evelyn's specific area of expertise, though, is in strange or otherwise unique phenomena. Apparently, inexplicable signals have been disrupting the town of Camena for several months now, so by planting these transmitters, we will relay the signals caused by the unique phenomena back to them for further observation. That was a long, convoluted sentence, I know. Evelyn tells us that the climbing gear we will need to plant these transmitters is located in a local general store. We also get a cool little tutorial on how to use the walkie. One thing about this game that I love is the tutorials. They're quick, non-invasive, and easy to understand. Granted, the controls aren't hard to master. I'm just saying more games should follow this recipe instead of completely pausing your game and taking you out of the experience completely. Upon reaching the general store, Riley radios Evelyn and lets her know that the general store is locked. Evelyn mentions that Riley should continue heading up the hill towards Camber Cave to meet her partner for this job, Jacob. Evelyn also mentions that a group named Parentage is somewhat of a faith or religious following. She also says that they're a bit kooky. Our partner Jacob is having car issues, but he does happen to have a transmitter we can plant for the night. After this transmitter is planted, they would begin the job again in the morning. Or That's the plan, at least. We eventually meet Jacob. Jacob is this charismatic jokester. He has low self-esteem, low confidence, and he calls himself a fix-it guy.
Having some car trouble?
Yeah, how can you tell? You're Riley, right? I'm Jacob. Evelyn let me know you were on the way. You kind of caught me in the middle of... This is embarrassing. I can't get my truck to start. Yeah, this was gonna be our ride around town for the job, but she might be on her last legs.
Oh, do we need it?
I think they hired me mostly because I had a truck.
He is definitely indeed having car issues. After failing to get this truck to start, they decide to journey on foot, but before that, we grab the transmitter, and Jacob hands us a very important tool for our travels. Seemingly, it's just a walkie-talkie that he uses to catch random baseball games while he's out and about, but for us, it's a tool we use to solve puzzles, save lives, and most importantly, we need this walkie-talkie for a trophy. The duo start making their way towards Camber Caves in order to place their first transmitter. A side note, I'm not going to let every conversation between these two and the other characters play out, because that would be too long of a video. I will, however, let certain ones like this play in order for everyone to understand key points in the story and to elaborate on things that I'm saying.
Different circles, but I just wanted you to know that we knew each other. That's all. No biggie.
Yeah, no, of course. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So, hi, I'm Jacob. Nice to meet you. First day on the job topics. We ran in different circles, but I just wanted you to know that we knew each other. That's all.
Okay, we knew each other.
So, hi, I'm Jacob. Nice to meet you. First day on the job topic.
Although Jacob's response didn't change as much from choice 1 to choice 2, other than the awkward cough, we can see in this very small exchange between Jacob and Riley that their relationship will completely depend upon the player. As I mentioned earlier in the video, we can see in exchange 1 that although Riley is still somewhat reserved towards Jacob, she is still trying to be open. Riley is a completely different person here than in exchange 2, where she is completely standoffish and doesn't show any interest in getting to know Jacob at all. In exchange 2, Riley seems almost kind of snobby, as if Jacob doesn't matter. She gives off almost a narcissistic vibe. These seemingly meaningless conversations and exchange points between the two have varying consequences at the end of the story, which is partially where the collectibles come into play, because in order to completely understand certain scenarios at the end of the game and why Jacob makes or doesn't make the decisions he does, we need to be fully vulnerable with Jacob at every point. Not only that, we need to gather the collectibles that he buried to uncover more of who he is and his connections to this soon-to-be life-altering event. Again, I'm not going to show every conversation between these two, but you'll have to trust me when I say that this is how the game goes. If you aren't nice to Jacob, and if you treat him like garbage and make him feel as though he doesn't matter, it will show. If you turn Riley into this asshole character that she 100% can be and is at the start of the story, your story will end just like that. In OxenFree 2, you have the ability to not only learn, but shape the character growth of not only Riley, but everyone around you, everyone she talks to. We'll see more specific examples of this later on in the video. As the pair are making their way up to the first transmitter, Jacob tells Riley that he's an independent contractor and that he took this job specifically due to the weird radio frequencies that have been happening in Camena recently. He also divulges that this is the reason he brought the radio, so that he can use it to tune into physical objects. This radio can charge up physical objects in the area, like whatever that means. But on their way to the transmitter, we have the opportunity for these two to bond as well as getting valuable information about Jacob and the job itself. We also see this. This little bubble above Jacob's head appears to mark when an exchange is important. So when Jacob asks a question or is vulnerable with Riley, depending on your response will sway Jacob's opinion on Riley and himself. The best way I can explain the importance of this bubble is that Jacob needs someone to learn from and someone who can validate him to an extent. We all have a friend like this, that friend who needs a little bit of encouragement, that friend who needs a little bit of motivation, that friend who needs to know that someone does indeed care about them and that they're important to someone. That friend who needs to know that their existence is in fact not meaningless and what they're doing is good. That is Jacob described perfectly in a nutshell. The way I'm describing him may sound as if he's a bit too much or a complete loser, but I promise he's not. The writers of this game have balanced Jacob's characteristics so well so that Jacob never becomes a drag or a whiny loser. Jacob is just a normal human being experiencing normal human emotions, and I love that aspect about him. The two hike up the beaten path a bit more, and Riley shares a story about her dad and how they used to hike in the woods. Again, forming that player-to-character connection between ourselves and the characters. Riley showcases some of the elite parkour skills in her arsenal, and Jacob talks about the USS Kanaloa, which sank near the coast of Edwards Island, and how he believes in the conspiracy that it sank due to friendly fire. He also poses the question to Riley, do you believe in ghosts? The two make it to the transmitter. After planning what should be the first and only transmitter of the night, something strange happens.
Wait, what is that? Do you see that over Edwards Island? Riley, do you know, is this right?
Riley, what's going on? The readings are a little weird over here.
Riley, is this normal? It's reacting with that thing.
Something.
Riley, turn off the transmitter. It's
What?
Just turn
What's
it off.
she saying?
No! God, I can't believe this! Oh, the portal! Something's wrong with it! Oh, I was almost there!
What is that touching it? Is it lightning?
What?
Wait. There's someone here.
Who is she?
She did something! Whatever she did, fried our antenna!
Mom, come on. You tell me all the time. Don't let the concerns of others concern you. Right?
Hey, where are we?
Wait, who are you?
Come in, Riley. If you're there, pick up, please. Riley?
Hey, wait,
Alright, there's a lot to unpack here, okay? And I'm not talking about that shitty ass reverse effect I tried to do. That was definitely not going forward. First of all, Riley is transported to that cult-like gathering we saw earlier on in the game, but this time we know that she can be seen by others and even interact with them as shown by the unknown kid blaming her for something being broken. Second of all, Riley has, had, or will have a kid. Then Riley is teleported back to the beginning of the game to the bus stop while Evelyn seems to have no inclination as to what's happening. So it can safely be assumed that whatever is causing this allows Riley to not only be transported to the past, but to the future and to the present as well. Riley continues her conversation as normal with Evelyn, and Evelyn really has no idea that Riley has just gone back in time. She explains the job to Riley once again, but as she's doing so, Riley runs into that kid from the beach, breaking into the general store. The kid tells us to not listen to them, to leave her alone, and to stay out of her business. Then Riley is yet again teleported to the bus stop with Evelyn none the wiser. The next time Riley is teleported, the general store is on fire, and that kid is communicating with an anomaly of sorts. The anomaly seemingly warns the kid of Riley and says that she will ruin us. Riley is then spotted again and teleported back to the bus stop. Here is where we're introduced to the puzzles in this game. They're cool little mini games, and when they're solved, they'll essentially fix the time loop in a certain area for a short amount of time. Long story short, what I'm saying is, if these puzzles aren't completed, then Riley will just keep getting teleported backwards until they're solved. After these two puzzles are solved, we take the same path as earlier to meet Jacob. This is where the game gets a bit more interesting, and that's not to say that it wasn't before. You'll have to forgive me. I definitely have PTSD from games that try to do the whole time loop shtick. Jacob and Riley explain the situation further to Evelyn, and she suggests that the two head back up to the transmitter to check on it. Obviously, Jacob is apprehensive about this, considering that who knows what the hell could happen. On the way, Jacob mentions that he feels as if people are put into situations where they most matter. Now, let me stop a little bit and pivot back to Jacob and Riley for a moment. As I alluded to earlier, Jacob not only exists to add noise to the quiet parts of the game, he acts as Riley's sort of moral compass and potential teacher, I should say. This entire game is full of him making these sorts of statements. He He yearns for the perspective of someone new to add to his thoughts. He just wants to talk to someone who will hear him, which in turn gives Riley a chance to be more compassionate, more open, and more caring about those around her. Jacob is the perfect solution to her current and past issues. We take these two, Jacob, who is a grown-ass man who never got the reassurance he needed, and he's struggling to find his purpose in life, who is also pretty much living in his brother's shadow. Then we take Riley, a headstrong woman who has had a much harder life, and she has lessons to teach. Although she's not actively looking to teach these lessons, life just sort of happens that way. And through their interactions, they both learn from each other in an organic manner. In my honest opinion, you can form yours as needed, when we get to that part of the story. But Riley's current issue is that she's trying to find herself. She's trying to start anew. She doesn't want to repeat the mistakes of her past, and she doesn't want the mistakes of her past to become defining traits of her character. As we'll come to learn pretty soon, she feels as if she would be a terrible mother because her parents weren't exactly the best. Being her mother abandoned her, she had a falling out with her dad, etc. Now, whether she achieves that goal is up to the player, as I said earlier, and using Jacob in this kind of symbiotic relationship, Riley can not only try to be a new person, the person she wants to be, by not letting her past define her, she can also take this time to be there for someone, to hear someone, to understand what it means to be a true friend to someone, and to in turn have a true friend. She can take this time to truly reflect on her values as a person and to be an adult for once. Also, in being closer to Jacob and opening up to him, Riley also tackles her fear of being a mother, which we'll cover in a bit. Anyway, mini ran over. Henceforth, the two make it back to the transmitter. Upon arrival, we see a giant scalene triangle in the sky. And come on, give me some props for knowing basic geometry, alright? The transmitter is seemingly powering this thing, or at the very least transferring energy to the anomaly in the sky. Shit gets kind of weird here. Jacob gets possessed and walks away. But luckily for us, we have that trusty radio Jacob gave us earlier, so we can tune it to just the right frequency and snap him out of it. After tuning the radio, Jacob is then shot up into the sky and dropped back down. We hear some creepy voices coming from the ether, apparently, and Riley has some sort of flashback, or either she travels back in time. I'm not completely sure at this point what actually happened. And during the time cut, we can see the implication that Riley was, or will be an alcoholic. It's implied here that she drinks heavily to cope during her day-to-day life. The voices also seem to give us some dialogue about them being lost and that they want to be found again. The pair pass out and wake up all the way across the map in Garland, and Jacobs talks to Riley about an old friend of his who explains similar phenomena to him, but before he elaborates, he wants them to get to safety. Another weird thing happens here. When the two call Evelyn, Evelyn has no idea who they are, and upon calling her a second time, the two receive static. As Riley and Jacob make their way to Jacob's cabin, he takes the time to fully delve into the actual reason he's taking this job. I mentioned his friend earlier. Well, it turns out that his friend was an older lady who lived on Edwards Island. She had many theories, and she spent her life studying this type of phenomena. Jacob has kept many of her journals, but they're back at his cabin, hence them needing to go there right now. As they approach the cabin, Jacob gets a little more open, and he alerts us to the fact that his parents left him and his brother this rather large cabin. Jacob's parents had him old, and they died when he and his brother were in their 20s. Jacob says that technically he shares the cabin with his brother, but his brother is never around, so it's pretty much just him there, alone. This is another turning point for your relationship with Jacob. Seeing the cabin brings back memories of his family, and he decides to be vulnerable here to gather your opinion on the subject. Breaking into his house, we can see the hobbies he partakes in. We learn that Jacob is actually a twin. Then he gets a mysterious phone call. I'm sure that has no meaning whatsoever in the story. Can't possibly be foreshadowing anything. We eventually let Jacob in and see more of his art, and he finds the notebooks and journals he mentioned earlier. It's a lot to explain, so I let him do it for me. Then I'll give it to you in layman terms.
Jacob, not in your head.
Oh, yeah, sorry. She says that harmonizing electromagnetic waves emitted towards a gate could successfully diffuse its source signal. See, so this is what I thought when the transmitter went crazy. That first one was diffusing the signal and starting to cancel out the gate. So transmitters can diffuse the source signal. We can use them to stop it.
So we use the transmitters then, right? Enough of them should knock out its power.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we saw what the one did, which is definitely what we want to do. Because Maggie says, she wrote here, that gates or portals, whatever you want to call them, can, in theory, destabilize the properties of our current existence. Which doesn't sound good.
But aren't we out of transmitters? How would we do this?
The general store's holding our transmitters, right?
TLDR, the lady, Jacob's friend, was Maggie Adler. She had theories of radio waves going through things. She knew about gates, the scaling triangle in the sky, and transmitters. The transmitters can stop this mess by being planted roughly equidistant and at the same height. Basically, the transmitters will nullify the signal that's causing all of this. If we use our context clues at this point, we can surmise that Maggie Adler is likely the lady at the top of the lighthouse from earlier on in the game, seeing as how she claimed to time travel before. The two get a call from Evelyn as they're making their way to the general store to retrieve their climbing gear. They tell Evelyn about the plan and head off on their way. This is probably my least favorite part of the game. At this point, we've already been inside of a building, and as we'll see moving forward, it isn't like this at all. Just let me see what's inside of here, bruh. I spent like 5 minutes moving Riley around hoping she would trigger the prompt to come up. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. But anyway, side note, as soon as you pick up your climbing gear at the general store, the game becomes open world. Well, as much as it can be, meaning you can pretty much set up these transmitters in whatever order you like. Except for Garland. I'm pretty sure you'll always have to do that one last. This is also the point in the game where the collectibles start appearing, so I'll take you through some of those as well, seeing as how there are only 13, and as I stated earlier, they are very important for Jacob's subplot. Now, I'm not going to read every single collectible, obviously, but I am going to leave them up on screen long enough for you guys to read them. If you want to pause the video, you can. Long story short, they're very important, but the last one is the one that's the most important. Anyway, after getting the gear, I almost killed Riley, and the two make their way to the next transmitter sharing quips, jokes, and personal stories, and then Riley receives this call on the walkie.
Hey, if you're on this frequency, pick up.
Who's that?
Riley, are you there? Over.
Hi. Hey, is there something you want? Over?
Man, you sound... actually, you don't sound at all how I thought you'd sound. But, how's it going? Over.
Yeah, I'm fine. Who's this? Over.
You know who this is, but I'll give you the space to figure it out for yourself. Okay. I don't want to waste your time. That's a pretty important resource. But my mom used to tell me stories. That's why I'm calling. Because one of the stories was about tonight, and the things that are going on. Anyways, I just had a hunch. I'll see you later.
Whoever this man is, he already knows her, and it appears that he knows her more intimately than we thought. He mentions that his mom used to tell him stories about strange things happening to her, kind of like the events that are happening tonight. Then the runner-up for third best character in the game gives us a call, Hank. Hank, along with some other people you can talk to on the walkie, has a subplot you can help him with. I'm not going to dive all the way into them because I think personally, Evelyn's subplot is the most important, but I will mention, in order to advance his personal story, you can keep contacting him over the walkie while he's sailing his boat. He and Riley share some stories about being kids and their dreams. But I would strongly recommend that you progress this subplot if you intend on playing this game yourself. After entering the caves, Riley literally sees herself dead as fuck in the water, and these birds keep appearing in the caves. I don't know if they're a symbol for something I missed. Maybe they're a symbol for being trapped within your own thoughts or past. They just keep showing up and there's nothing else you can do with them. Jacob and Riley hop into the dimensional chair. The dimensional chair. Alright, bro. They hop into the dimensional tear and are transported back into 1899 when the mine was still somewhat operational. The mine starts to crumble and the two barely make it out through another tear, which puts them back in the present day. Here, the two share a pretty fun bit of dialogue, just highlighting Jacob's personality a bit more and the fact that Riley is starting to loosen up a bit.
Summers paused. The mountain stood its ground. He knew he needed to climb it. He knew he could climb it. But the doubt, oh, such towers of doubt, if he actually would. Riley climbed with ease. Riley always climbed with ease.
As she scaled the heights with ability and grace, Riley Poverly wished Jacob would get his ass in gear and climb.
Jacob noted Riley's impatience. To the surprise of none, it helped not a bit.
Traveling through some more caves, Riley takes the fucking nosedive, and when she awakes, she sees her father. He gives us some exposition about him regretting being too poor to send her on a field trip in her younger days back at school. He also gives us some valuable information about Riley's mother. This conversation kind of hit me. Some people just aren't meant for that family lifestyle, you know?
She was incapable of most things. She couldn't love me, she couldn't love you, and I know in your heart you want to find out why, but there's no why there. Her soul just has too many cracks. You see, it just can't hold anything for very long. You understand?
I think so.
Good. We can talk about it later, after we find the clearing.
Anyway, Riley's father guides her through the tunnel and back to Jacob. After exiting the caves, they run into Violet, who Jacob notifies us is a member of parentage. This is where you have to really mind what you're saying to others throughout the game. Violet is one of the 3 people besides Jacob who Riley can become friendly with, quote unquote. If you say the wrong thing here, which I did on my first playthrough, you won't be able to save her, thus affecting your ending for the game. Riley's father appears again. He lectures her on Riley's anger management issues and tries to get her to see the connection between her anger and electricity. He gives her a penny and tells her to focus her anger on that whenever she finds herself in an upsetting situation. Riley saves Jacob again, and this is where you can attempt to save or become friendly with Violet. During the conversation, Violet mentions that Olivia has been speaking to them for a long time and that nothing is real unless Olivia says it is. She says that she just wants to go home, but they won't let her stop. If you choose the wrong options here, this will happen, and you lose the chance to become friendly with her later on in the game. If you choose the right options, she will safely make it across the bridge, and Riley will give her instructions on how to make it home. The transmitter gets planted and Riley has one of those flashbacks again. This time, it's of her with her son. Riley has a fucking kid, bro. Or she will, at some point. But this time, instead of her dad teaching her how to control her anger, she's teaching her son how to control his anger. And he kind of just yeets the penny her dad gave her out to the open sea. But you know, kids, am I right? On the way to the third transmitter, Jacob asks Riley a rather personal question. He asks why Riley didn't have her photo taken for the yearbook back in high school. You can lie to him here, but I insist that you don't, depending on which ending you want.
And I was always like, who wouldn't want to get their yearbook picture taken? It's senior year! Because I'm, at heart, a dictionary salesman. But can I just ask, did you just not want to? If it's like personal, then forget I asked.
My, mom left when I was a baby. She just couldn't handle it, my dad says. And sometimes I'd see people who looked like her from pictures my dad had, you know? And on the day they took yearbook photos, I saw her sitting in a car outside the school. It probably wasn't her. I mean, of course it wasn't her, but I just didn't go in. Bummed around with some older friends, saw a movie instead.
Oof, sorry. That's hard.
I'll see her
I used this opportunity to be vulnerable with Jacob, and upon doing so, Riley mentions that her mother left when she was younger because she couldn't take it, meaning she couldn't take the pressure of having a kid. But on picture day, she thought she saw her mom and the emotions overwhelmed her, so she just ditched school. She says that she tries to get over the fact that her mom left, but some things make it hard to do so. She still sees her mom in reflections and in passing cars sometimes. Riley has another memory sequence. Yeah, I'm just going to call them whatever comes to my mind at this point. This time Riley is sent to overlook a conversation with Olivia and seemingly her parents. The illusion gets fucked up somehow and Olivia says that she needs to get to Planet Shine. Riley really has some words of wisdom to give Jacob during the trek to the third transmitter though. She can really open up to him here, and you know what? Time out. Halt motherfucking hazard.
Was this like part of what you did in the military? This sort of thing? Was this like part of your training?
No, I was only in the army, just long enough to get the right boots for my size. I learned how to make a bed, properly clean a bathroom, but I've been climbing trees since before I could talk.
Got it. Do you miss it?
Shout out to these developers for perfectly encompassing the military experience with a few short lines of dialogue. She says that she was barely in the military when Jacob asked, but the only thing she really got to get good at was learning how to clean a bathroom and make a bed. So she definitely made it through at least the red phase of basic training. In red phase, I swear that's all you do. You clean, you make beds, and get absolutely obliterated for no reason. She also tells Jacob that she doesn't miss it, which is also relatable. And that if something is behind you, there's a reason for that. Something we all need to realize at one point or another. The pair run into Charlie. He is the second of the three characters I mentioned earlier, in which you can become friendly with. This interaction doesn't matter, but Charlie does warn Jacob and Riley not to follow him or bad things will happen. Probably the best thing that comes out of this conversation is the fact that we find out why Jacob's nickname is Gingerbread.
So, gingerbread. What's...
Oh, yeah, that. It's, this is incredibly dumb, but 2 summers ago, I was at the beach and I went to go to the bathroom in one of the latrines they have there. And as a prank, some high schoolers pushed it over. And I fell out practically naked, and they call me Gingerbread now, as a goof. And that's it. Not a whole lot to explain.
Okay, but why gingerbread?
Because my hair down there is pretty light, and in the sun it looked red, and so that's it. It's just something some of them thought they saw. Yeah, I know.
The two make it to the ranger station, and there are signs that parentage has had their little seance, or whatever the hell they be doing. Riley redials the phone upstairs, and this is where Shelly comes into play. Ranger Shelly is honestly a sweetheart, and I love her to death. Riley explains the situation to Shelly, and the two establish comms over the walkie-talkie. Shelly also has a subplot where you can basically just kill her, but I don't know why you would do that. She's honestly a sweetheart, and she gives a bit of lore as the story progresses, and she calls in with the sit reps. There would be a point in the story where anomalies talk about Shelly, and Riley can choose whether to let Shelly know or not, or to, just let her remain oblivious about the situation. After getting the key from the ranger station, the two unlock the gate previously locked by Charlie, and Jacob chases him again. This leaves Riley to find an alternate path. In doing so, she gets a weird call over the walkie-talkie. Someone is playing games with her. In order to find her way through the path and up to Jacob, she has to solve each riddle within the allotted amount of time. After this is complete, Riley has another memory sequence in which she is with her son. This time she is trying to console him after his pet had just died. Her son mentions that he hopes he dies before Riley, and Riley tells him that he has to get used to it. Such is the way of life. There would be worse funerals to come in time. Her son gets angry, he throws a rock and sinks the funeral raft. Nothing much to see here. Riley comes to. Jacob is back this time, but he's let the rope down so the two can continue following Charlie. The two find Charlie, and this man Jacob is trying to throw hands with him immediately. Although Charlie has been being a fucking prick this whole time, I didn't allow that to happen. Choosing to de-escalate the situation will result in Charlie becoming your friend, which will help you greatly with 2 trophies. Let me stress, your dialogue choices really matter here. Choose one wrong option and he will not become friendly with Riley. While Jacob is trying to throw hands with a literal child, Riley pulls the kid to the side and gets some additional information on what's going on. Charlie mentions that he's not in charge of all this and that him and his friends are making things quote unquote right. He explains that this is the only night that whatever it is they're doing can happen and that he can't let Olivia down. Charles is then hypnotized, I guess. Hypnotized is an acceptable word here, I guess, but it's our job to help him out, obviously. Riley uses the radio. Boom, we get another triangle, and the anomalies pry at Riley's family history. They tell her that they have her future and Jacob's future in their hands. After all this fuckery is complete, the duo places a 3rd transmitter. Jacob apologizes for being so rude to the kid and Riley. Then we're met with another memory sequence of Riley finishing. Yeah, Riley's finishing off her son, guys.
What?
Riley is fishing with her son. Nothing really happens here. She's just trying to teach him the importance of being patient, and then the memory sequence shatters. On the way to Garland, Riley hears a payphone ringing in the middle of nowhere, basically, and it says this.
Oh, dude, you better be packing hand sanitizer.
Hello?
There. Pause. Alarm.
This concerned Shelley.
Concern. Fear.
Shelley? Park Ranger Shelley?
The forest. Shelley. Not to. Cabin. More. My own blood and form of my love. Sister.
Sister born? What does that mean?
Wait, are you saying the Park Ranger and you are related, or?
Sonar technician John Gerald Shelley aboard the USS Kanaloa talks to a mess attendant about
Venture. Her mother.
When I said that you could kill Ranger Shelley earlier, you can choose to notify her of this or not, you know? Not only can you notify her, you can advise her on whether or not to go check out that disturbance on her radar later. After the phone call, if you've been nice, vulnerable, and open with Jacob, he will ask this.
Do you, want to be friends after this? And like just friends. Legit, no prefixes. And not even like best friends. More like, it's 3 a.m. I need a cheeseburger and a cherry Danish. Who would join me on this quest?
Yeah, I'm in, but dude, that is not the dumbest question.
Do you want to be my friend? What am I, 9?
These feel a little more considered than random stray thoughts, but okay.
It's a sweet moment signaling that although Jacob doesn't have true friends, he trusts Riley enough at this point to ask her to be his friend. Of course, I obliged. The two make it to the parentage / Planet Shine church / altar area, and this is where a lot happens, so let's get into it. The time is currently 2 a.m. Riley and Jacob are basically breaking into a church to find some radio equipment to destroy Olivia's plans. Heading upstairs, Riley finds a military radio which we can use to unlock high-tech locks with super specific radio frequencies. Heading back downstairs, the two unlock a lock using the military radio, and Riley completely destroys all of the equipment. After destroying the equipment, Olivia's entire gang walks in. Up to this point, we've already met 2 out of 3 people that Riley can become friendly with. If you chose the right choices, after this conversation, Charles and Violet will turn on Olivia, granting you enough time to stop her from tuning into the frequencies in any way, which will net you a trophy. However, Olivia is that third person Riley can become friendly with, which will also net you a trophy, but you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot become friends with all three of them in one playthrough. Befriending both Olivia's friends will make her feel alienated and as if she's alone, thus locking you out of becoming her quote-unquote friend. You can befriend either one of her friends and Olivia though. I mentioned human psychology earlier, and here's where I personally think the developers executed the understanding of it perfectly. Humans are so unique, every situation is unique, and in order to become friendly with Olivia, not only did you not have to make the correct choices, and to not make her feel alienated and vengeful, not only did you not have to destroy her radio, which is her only connection to her parents, you had to give her a chance to be vulnerable as well.
To hang out with people who are already dead. Not exactly an even trade.
Whatever.
There are beings on the other side. You've seen them too. They're not what you think. They can help. Help you, help me, help everyone. Just give me back my radio.
Choosing that dialogue option is the only chance in the game she has to be truly vulnerable. It's the only chance she has to really open up on her own accord. You can choose the other ones, which will eventually lead to her saying the same thing, but with these options, she isn't given the illusion of choice. She feels like she had to divulge the information, thus not changing her viewpoint at all and leaving her bitter and closed off. After this, Jacob and Riley take a second to rest on the bridge. They take some time to reflect on the situation, and Riley mentions that she's pregnant.
You know, this reminds me of that story.
I'm pregnant.
Beg pardon?
I found out before I took the job. I'm 2 months.
Then I do have a 2020 hearing, or, yeah. Congratulations? I'm sorry, is this a balloons and yay type of thing, or, let me know there.
Sure, yeah, balloons. Balloons. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. I am understanding more why you'd want to take this job. Security, you know? I sense a security. Maybe you're planning to move back. I don't know. Actually, I don't know why I'm talking so much. So I'm just gonna take one colossal, metaphorical step back and let you drive our, little chat here. Starting now. Step taken.
You can, look, just ask whatever you want. It's fine.
If you don't already know, which one would you prefer, a boy or a girl? I have no idea when you can, you know, identify.
I know it's a boy.
And, any names? And if I'm prying, please say so. I'll just immediately stop talking.
I was thinking, maybe Jacob.
Just make sure you spell it with the C. Those Jacobs with the K's out there just think they're so much better. They're the worst. Trust me.
You know I'm lying, right? I'm not naming my kid Jacob.
Hey, it's a good backup plan, huh? But only with the C. So, bird's eye, how do you, you know, feel overall about it?
I'm hopeful. I am. I should probably be worried, and, you know, part of me is very worried, incredibly worried, but hope is still winning.
Well, it should stay that way. Maybe this is weird, but, thanks for telling me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Not many know.
Lucky me. Boy, night of surprises. But it's nice to have one that's different, in the good way. Come on, one last
So that kid from the memory sequences was indeed her kid, and his name is Rex. Kind of a whack name, if you ask me. but that's coming from a black guy who has the whitest name ever. This conversation is pretty important because obviously Riley has been battling with this the entire time. This is clearly Riley and Jacob becoming more than just friends. They're great friends at this point, and I would even consider them family of some sorts. The two trek to Garland to place the last transmitter, and using our new military radio, we unlock the path previously locked off to us and see this beautiful backdrop. The art style of this game is absolutely immaculate, and while crossing the bridge, Jacob mentions that he doesn't want to live forever, but he also doesn't want to die forever either. The issue that so many people struggle with every day. He's alluding to the fact that he wants to be remembered for something, as we'll see in a bit. Olivia radios in and alerts us to the fact that we have no idea what we're trying to prevent. She says that her plan is the ocean and that we're beavers trying to stop the ocean with twigs. Your dialogue choices to her don't matter here. If you've already chosen the correct options regarding her dialogue up to this point, you're pretty much home free to treat her as you see fit. The pair need to get through the mine shaft, so that means we need to complete a little puzzle hopping in and out of time right before the mine collapse. In the time between, you can meet Hank. Hank has a side story you can complete, which consists of getting a shoe, taking a picture, and meeting someone through time traveling, and taking a photo with them. It's a pretty cool tidbit that was added after setting the correct time into the EMF boosters. The two have clear passage through the mines. Right before placing the final transmitter, Jacob falls through the church, which, might I say, is deep as fuck. Somehow this dude didn't die, but then again, we spent this whole game traveling through time and talking to dead people, so there's not too much I can say here. We glide down, complete a little candle puzzle, and then this happens.
Alex, is this you?
No.
Out. Door. Possible. Time.
Alex, stay away from him. It was an accident. What are you doing?
Alex is fucking with us, gang, whoever that is. The final transmitter is placed. Game and video is over, right? Nope. Riley is adamant that something doesn't feel right. Jacob and Riley start heading back to the docks to see about getting a hotel till the morning. The game really opens up towards this section. Riley is more open, Jacob is more vulnerable. The two really mesh here. Jacob even tells Riley that she should come back after the job is complete. This time is really where you have the opportunity to be nice to Jacob if you haven't been already. Jacob is then hypnotized on the bridge again, and here's where we meet Alex in the flesh. Alex tells us that the crew of the USS Kanaloa, aka the Sunken, has been completely fucking up the timeline. They sort of taken advantage of Olivia and convinced her to do their bidding. They ultimately have the same goals as Alex, but the way Alex wants to come back to life is through a rather clean swap, I should say. Alex doesn't want to hurt anyone. The Sunken will do whatever it takes to come back to fruition. That leaves our new objective being to stop Olivia before she opens up a portal and allows the Sunken to ruin everyone's life, basically. The two need to get on a boat and make their way to Edwards Island, but before you do this, I suggest gathering all the collectibles I showed earlier and heading back to Jacob's cabin for the 13th hidden collectible. That will be important pretty soon. Jacob finally finds Athena, by the way, his dog that went missing. And yes, you can pet her. There's a trophy attached to this action, as there should be. There's also a trophy for not petting her, which is fucking crazy. Jacob and Riley take the boat ride to have my personal favorite conversation of the game, such as life being meaningful, finding purpose, etc.
I used to pride myself on owning the very first issue of TV Guide. It has the I Love Lucy baby on the cover. For months, it was my only goal to get it. I'm mentioning this because this is probably like the greatest thing I'm gonna do in my life. Helping you fix all this. There's no topping that. Get something broken. Just a lifetime of staring at failure. And hopefully fixing it, but often not.
Why don't you do something else then?
You think I haven't tried? That came out sharper than it should have. Sorry. It's just, this is gonna be it. This is the apex of my accomplishment. Another fix-it job. Bigger job, more important job, sure, but a fix-it job still. Dunno. This would have been nice if the #1 spot was taken by something I created. Maybe that's selfish? Dunno.
No, that's not selfish. That makes sense. I think we'd all like to be remembered for something more than she loved to laugh, or some crap like that.
If we're remembered at all. Maybe this is the night it all turns around. As he sailed away from the silent city, socks still uncomfortably damp, Jacob Summers decided he'd fixed enough. After tonight, the only thing he would try to fix is himself. How stupid does that sound, right?
In an authentic and genuinely not sarcastic or smoke-blowing way, the beautiful, mysterious, well-dressed, and modest Riley Poverly told him, "I believe in you, Jacob Summers."
Thanks. I'm sure you have other things on your mind besides all this.
The entirety of this game has led up to this conversation. All of their funny jokes, quips, happenstances, vulnerability, experiences, everything. It's amazing. Absolutely all of it has led to Riley telling Jacob that she believes in him, which is just perfect because that's what he's been waiting to hear his entire life. When they arrive at Edwards Island, the two are transported to a memory sequence. Alex appears and gives us some information about what's happening. Her friends are echoes stuck in between time. She feels survivor's guilt about her brother drowning during a military test instead of her. Riley and Jacob rush at the tower as Olivia is opening up the portal. At the top, Riley is taken into her own mind through her memories, and she realizes what her life has been. She remembers all the arguments, the nights out drinking, the abusive relationships, and she meets Maggie Adler again, or what seems to be Maggie Adler. Apparently, the Sunken are making Riley have these hallucinations to make her give up. During this, Riley meets an adult version of her son Rex. This conversation is a keystone for Riley's development.
Wouldn't you know it? You show up, fish clear out. Not like you should expect this to go any better, I guess. Or maybe I'm just bad luck. You recognize me, right?
I know it's you, Rex.
Yeah, I know. You're a long way from home, Riley. You've been a long way from home for a while now, to tell you the truth. And I know you wanted to change some things when you heard I was coming. Get your life in order, you know. Exercise 5 days a week, stuff like that. How's it going so far? Making your bed every day? Cooking your own dinners?
I think you can tell how it's going, Rex. I'm getting taken over by vengeful spirits just because I answered an ad for a job. It's going to complete crap, like most things I try to do.
Like most things you try to do. Yeah, here's the thing about that. I'm one of those things. And I think I turned out pretty okay. I wash my clothes twice a month and everything.
I wasn't talking about you, so...
Riley, I know you think you effed up here, and that you failed, and that the whole town is going to get eaten by ghosts, but you haven't yet. They haven't yet. But they will unless you snap the hell out of it right now. For my sake.
How? You don't think I'm trying? I'm stuck here.
You've been stuck before. You've been stuck for years. Mom, I think you've let a lot of anger keep you stapled to the carpet. You used to say you can't punch every problem, but hey, at least punching is trying something. Look, the Sunken and Alex and all of her friends have been in a void, just like you. Unlike you, though, they want to get out of it. How many years did you drain away on the couch, in bars, doing nothing, wanting to shrivel into dirt, crumble to dust, and go out like you came in?
You have no idea how hard I've tried to change for you.
The instant the little stick thing turned blue, the instant I knew you were on your way. The second I knew I had to live up to you, to be something for you.
Yeah, Mom. You looked in the want ads and sublet your apartment. I know. You tell me often. And don't say... I know you like to be stoic. There isn't any more time to kill. You're not that young anymore, and today is today. It ain't tomorrow. So this is the opposite of what you're going to try and teach me, by the way. But you'll always have a saying for everything.
Hey, you said yourself you turned out okay. That must mean something.
I did, but you're missing the point. I'm fishing, see? Fishing, that's because of you. I cook my eggs how I do because you cook your eggs that way. I wear jackets all the time, even when I'm dying of heat. I don't floss. I buy too many socks. All the utterly horrible guidance made me who I am today, and I like who I am. But you just don't take your own damn advice, Mom. You never do. You never did. So, I'm here now to make you take your own advice. Do something. Be something. Just make a choice and stick with it. Even if that choice doesn't take you exactly where you expected it to.
How, Rex? How exactly am I supposed to... I don't need
Don't be overconfident. You'll never leave unless you break out of this. Now say it. For yourself.
It's not what I want. It's not enough.
And what do you really want?
I want to just do something that matters. I need to do something that matters.
Yes. Yes, you do. But I think this is my stop. I never did get used to goodbyes, but this isn't one. Not really. Oh, and I'll see you at Christmas. I pop out a little early.
Riley, can you hear me?
Rex gets her up off of her ass and tells her to keep pushing. He tells her that her actions do matter, especially what she does tonight. Her son tells her that she isn't a fuck up, which is important for any child to tell their mother or parent, I believe. Rex gives her an outside perspective on her life, and long story short, he tells her to stop having a pity party. With her newfound motivation, Riley uses the radio to tune into the portal, and she herself is then taken over by the Sunken. It's after this we come to the game's climax. Riley is surrounded by Jacob, Alex, and Olivia. Alex notifies us that in order to close the portal, someone will have to tune the portal from the other side. So whoever tunes the portal from the other side will not come back. That person will be stuck in a time loop forever, reliving the same memories, the same loop, etc. A truly horrifying experience if you ask me. It is here where all of your decisions up to this point in the game come into play. We can choose Jacob, Riley, or Olivia here to do this, thus leaving us the conundrum. Do we let an ignorant kid have what they want, effectively robbing her of her life forever, or do we send one of the adults who has already lived quite a bit of life to sacrifice themselves instead? Let's start with the obvious option, Olivia. This entire game up to this point has been her trying to get back to that moment in time with her parents. She just wants to see them again. So for my first playthrough, that's the option I chose, and this is what happens.
Maybe she saw in you what I saw in you.
You want it. So if you want it, go ahead. I won't stop you.
Olivia, tune the portal closed. When
I'm going to see my mom and dad again. I mean, it's actually going to happen. It's going to actually happen. I did it. Look, Riley, I don't have to say thank you, and we're not hugging. Just be a good mom. To your son.
I will, Olivia.
Option number 2, which is Jacob. His is a bit more convoluted, meaning that if you've been kind to him, he will not enter the portal. He will just flat out refuse if you ask him, which isn't a terrible thing, logically speaking, since, as I mentioned before, this portal has been Olivia's goal. My line of thought was that if we've been nice to him, seeing as how he wanted to do something bigger with his life anyway, he would jump on the opportunity to do so, to be remembered for something. But if you've been nice to him and also collected the collectibles up to this point, you will get this optional conversation between him and Riley, which makes the situation make a whole lot more sense.
She was right. I never read them. Never.
How are you feeling?
It's, complicated. Which is just another way of saying it's hard, and I don't want to talk about it. But it is complicated.
Do you want to talk about it?
I probably should. The list of shoulds. Such a tapestry. Come on, let's, move on. Yeah, let's...
Hey, come on. Talk to me. Clearly she was important to you.
I won't lie, things aren't perfect. I'm not perfect. But Maggie didn't burden me. She freed me. What I did with that freedom is on me, not her. Wish I could tell her that. But I can't. So I guess I won't.
She was really lucky to have been your friend.
We were both lucky. Two lucky, sad weirdos. I'll take it. Well, I guess I broke my promise. Forgive me, Maggie.
If you've been rude to Jacob and not been vulnerable with him, if you just kept shooting him down the entire game, he will offer to go in the portal, no questions asked. At that point, he sees no reason to keep living life. He doesn't have anyone who truly cares about him, so what's the point? Obviously, if Jacob enters the portal, he leaves behind Athena as well, and, he never gets to truly do anything with his life like he wants to. He thinks he's a loser and the world would be the same, if not better off without him. Then we have Riley. Her ending is a little bit tricky because I don't believe sending Jacob or Riley in the portal is the best course of action. Although sending one of the two in is the morally correct option, I guess, because Olivia is still a child. I mean, come on. Olivia wants to do this, so why not let her do it? While you're making your decision, Alex mentions that she's seen Rex's and Riley's relationship through infinite timelines, and it never ends well. So if Riley goes in, she can stay in the perfect time with Rex and live in that over and over. But seeing as how Riley has this information already, can she actively work to change their future relationship? That's why I don't think Riley should go through. But if you decide to send her through, this is what happens.
I can't just live in memories anymore. I'm just not in the same place I was. I want to make some changes in my life.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked you.
I'm sorry. Really.
It's fine. He doesn't want it. I need this.
It should be me.
No, Riley. Are you crazy? Why on earth should it be you?
Yeah! Why do you get to decide? This wasn't your night! It was mine! And you robbed me of it!
I'm going so no one else does, so no one else has to. I, however inadvertently, am a part of this. Got us into this. I should get us out.
After everything, after tonight, you get the glory of remembrance? I can't believe it, and you're letting it happen.
It's not up to me. Riley, I knew this was a possibility, a mathematical prospect, no matter how unlikely. That you would be the one to free us, to end it. There aren't enough ways to say thank you. But it'll have to do. So thank you.
It's not just for you, it's for everybody.
I figured. Well, it's been nice meeting you. Again and again. Remember, tune into the portal when you're on the up.
Mom? Okay, so the guy at the general store let me go this time, but next time he said I'd have to buy something if I want to use the bathroom. He seemed kind of annoyed, but it's fine.
Yeah, next time I'll just get the gum, even though I think that honestly annoys him more.
Yeah, I can understand why. It's like winning the game on a penalty kick. Hike time?
Yep, lead the way.
Let's go to the summit first. Find some weird-looking squirrels.
Bedwetters, which I don't know if we're going to be allowed to play that anymore. Sorry.
This is that place you told me about, right? Was that guy trying to fix his car around here? With the dog?
That was further up the trail a bit. Not here, exactly. But I don't think he's around anymore.
Oh, okay. Hey, did you ever read this book called Black Beauty?
Yeah, I think I read that one in school. Or was made to. But I could be mistaking it with National Velvet. It's another horse book.
I never heard of that one. I'm really liking it so far. The class voted for which book to read. And like, everyone groaned and complained when the horse book was announced. I really wanted Johnny Got His Gun, but I think some parents said they didn't want a book about war. But, you know, whatever.
And Rex, there's a log up ahead. Slow down when you take it, so when the boulder slides, you don't scrape your knee.
How do you know that's gonna happen? Mom?
I'm just guessing.
Weirdo.
This part's tricky. Remember, to keep your center of gravity lined up with your feet, like we talked about.
I know.
Rex, I love you.
Oh, I asked you about Black Beauty because I actually just skipped to the end. I can't help myself. I always just want to know where things are going, you know? You read it, right? Maybe you remember? But it looked like the horse just ended up right back where she started? Like the last line is practically, my troubles are all over and I am at home. I didn't know if I missed something.
I'm guessing you wanted there to be more, growth, or...
I don't know, stories should end someplace new.
Well, I mean, not necessarily.
Oh, and, Mom. I love you too.
Hi. If you're listening to this, my name is Alex, but that doesn't matter much. You don't know me. You've never heard of me. You never will. But I know Riley, and she's a unique person. I'm sure you know that too. What you probably don't know is that she helped me out in a really big way recently. And the only thing I can think of to do to pay her back is to send you this package. It's, a collection of things that will hopefully give you a clearer picture of just who Riley is and the immense effect she's had on people's lives. I don't know. When you get through everything, I left a note at the bottom. Okay. Oh, and, thank you.
There are seemingly an infinite amount of true endings for this game, meaning certain decisions affect what you can see here. It would be impossible for me to cover them all, but I really enjoyed this experience, and I'm definitely going to play the first installation of the series in the future. For my TLDR, that should have definitely been at the front of the video. This is a great game that got me back into two-dimensional side-scrollers. It has a great story with underlying stories you can complete that don't interfere with the pace of the game at all. OxenFree 2 has a banging soundtrack, amazing voice actors, and it is worth every single penny. It was worth playing 5 entire times, even with a couple glitches I encountered that made me restart entire sections. I didn't cover every single subplot like Hank's, Shelly's, Evelyn's, and Maria's due to time constraints, but I can assure you, they add a new level to the game worth experiencing. So huge shout out to everyone involved in making OxenFree 2. I really enjoyed my time with it, and I hope a light shines on this game so more people can experience it. I don't really know what this video is about. I just wanted to talk about a game I like, because the last game, Dying Light 2, it didn't really go well for me. But if you made it this far, I really appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
How much longer do I have to sit here?
Hey, Olivia. Don't know if you'll ever get this. Don't care either, really. This is just for me. I hate what you put us through. I hate thinking about that night. I hate the nightmares I still have. I hate that you made Charlie like you, even though you're not worth liking. I hate that you moved away and I don't get to tell this to your ugly face. I hate you, and Charlie won't admit it, but you ruined his life too. Hope you have a terrible time and a worse life wherever you end up. You deserve it.
So, that's all of it then. Mr. Poverly, your daughter is a complicated person. Like all of us, like everybody. I used to really not appreciate my stepfather. And there was a time that I hated even the concept of having a stepbrother. Relationships are hard. Even the ones that are supposed to be easy, supposed to be ingrained. I don't really know what I expect you to do with all this. But just know that your daughter isn't just your daughter. She's not just the person who you raised, who left. Who maybe didn't end up being the person you wanted her to be. She's a person that had a life, and that life had a lot of branches to it. But you and her, those are her roots. And I think no matter where she is, she'll always remember that.